Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Finance. This government has introduced another budget with an enormous amount of additional appropriations, a total of almost $1.6 billion. This is money that the government spends with no accountability and no democratic oversight. It is also money that came largely from ballooning income tax and HST revenue. It would not be unreasonable for Nova Scotians to feel that this government has raked in revenues while they have paid more and more at the supermarket and on their tax bills. And yet, Mr. Speaker, the minister does not seem to think he owes the public the simple decency of providing democratic oversight of this spending. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, this might be embarrassing for the member, but it was her own party that set up the rules that are in place in this legislature right now, Mr. Speaker. That happened back in 2010 under NDP Finance Minister Graham Steele. So, Mr. Speaker, we are playing by the same rules the NDP created, and we're playing...
Order, please. I'll let it go so far, but it's getting louder. The Honourable Minister of Finance has the floor.
And, Mr. Speaker, we're playing by the same rules as the Liberal governments have had over the last 8 years, going back 18 months ago, Mr. Speaker. So we're playing by the same rules. It is certainly a matter for elected members to decide, Mr. Speaker. The $1.6 million that we spent was on housing, health, Hurricane Fiona. Those are, and affordability, all things they've been asking us to spend money on.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate very much the history lesson, but a lot has changed from 2010. I had toddlers in 2010 and I have teenagers, so I can tell you I've watched the passage of time. So we now are the only jurisdiction in this country where we don't have to table additional appropriations. It is reasonable, it is expected that we would update our acts and our processes and how we manage our finances over time. This government is so opposed to providing oversight that they even took the unprecedented step of using their government majority on the Public Accounts Committee to reject the recommendation from the Auditor General that the Finance Department even take a look at this issue. Mr. Speaker, why is this minister so opposed to simple democratic oversight of government's spending decisions?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have a problem with it at all, and I know things change. I've got 6 more people in my house since the change in 2010, so I can relate to the member. But, Mr. Speaker, the reality is it could be debated, but it's going to be debated after the fact by the time it gets to the legislature in most cases, Mr. Speaker. And we are very transparent, Mr. Speaker. We release the information to the media. We have a press conference. The opposition is invited to it. We answer questions. Mr. Speaker, there's full transparency. We're not trying to hide anything, Mr. Speaker. We're spending money to help Nova Scotians. We're just shocked that the opposition says to do it and then says not to do it, Mr. Speaker.